I started when I was 35.
Well, let me go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Who do I have with me today?
I don't know. No. I'm LJ
I expect a laugh.
LJ Brock, man. Lakeland Comedy.
Lakeland Comedy.
Lakeland Comedy.
How'd you get into comedy?
I started during the pandemic. Well, because we didn't shut all our stuff down in Florida.
I Am Lakeland started during the pandemic.
Really?
That's right. I was sitting on the couch doing nothing.
Okay, cool.
So let's make a directory of Lakeland.
Nice. Yeah, I kept telling my wife I wanted to try it, and she's very encouraging. She's like, okay, so what's stopping you? Because you keep talking about it. So I did my first open mic at Lakeland Live, me, 3 comics, and a sound guy, and then Yard on Mass used to do a mic. So I did their mic on a Wednesday in front of like 8 or 9 people, did well, we did it outside. And before I lost my nerve, I went straight over to the Pink Piano. They had an open mic. And it's the fullest I've ever seen it. It was standing room only. I walked in, put my name on the list, ordered a Sprite, and before I got my drink, they called me on stage. I probably did 12 clumsy minutes, but it killed, and I stuck with it. So I've been doing it ever since. I'm 3 years, 7 months in, I believe. Yeah.
And when you were a kid, you have a mom and dad who's a clown, or brothers, or how'd the comedy bug get you?
Man, it's a good question. I think the first comic I ever saw was Sinbad. I love Sinbad. Sinbad, and then I'm from Plain City. I grew up in Pinecrest, and it is real country. So everyone out there that had any interest in comedy was Foxworthy.
Okay.
So I got into Jeff. He's funny. But the first time I heard Chris Rock, I was like, clean comedy can get out of here. Like, this is my guy. This is my guy.
That ATM joke.
Oh,
God, that's my favorite by him.
Yeah, he's so.
If anybody knows that, look up the ATM joke.
It's
God,
so
that's
funny.
hilarious.
It's so funny.
So how'd you get to meet him?
I didn't get to meet him.
Oh, you didn't?
No, just the first time I saw him do stand up.
Okay.
That I was like, this is the guy I like. Cause nobody where I come from looks like this. No sideways hat, no baggy. I'm like that guy because I like that culture. So I got into Chris Rock, and then grew up on Comic View. All the BET, the Def Jam. Martin Lawrence used to host Def Jam. So I got into that. I like wild, crazy comedy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I grew up in the late 70s and 80s. I was born in 68. And Johnny Carson was on the screen, and then I went to Jay Leno. Letterman, I like Letterman, but it's just different,
Yeah.
It's not my favorite. And then Drew Carey, Ray Romano, the big guys are just hilarious.
They say Ray was a killer back in the day. I saw the special he released a couple years ago. It was pretty funny. He just dropped into the Comedy Cellar. I don't know if you watched it or not, but it's on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was just a drop-in. They had a camera, and he just went up there and he just looked like he never left. It was funny. It was really funny.
And then Jerry, everybody knows Jerry.
Oh, killer, still killing it.
Yeah.
And he's got some jokes now. I watched a special where he updated them with the times, which is a great idea because a lot of people, they film a special, they throw all the material away. Like, why not update it? You wrote a joke in the 80s, it worked. Now it's not relevant. What can you remove and add to it? And 2024, boom, it's a killer joke.
That's right. And the thing about comedy is there's always new fans coming in and old fans going out. So you need to repeat some of that material.
Right.
And even if it's updated, it's the same material with a little twist or whatever, because people continue. There's no end to fans.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I have, it's not everyone's favorite joke that I do, but I think the first time I did it was when it wasn't when the Queen died. It was someone in the royal family had passed away a couple years earlier, and the joke was I'm reading it off of Google. So the more recent one is Jerry West died. Are you a basketball fan? You know the NBA logo?
Yeah.
That's Jerry West.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so he recently passed. So I'm talking to my wife on the phone, and I'm like, oh, the logo died. And she's like, who? And I'm like, Jerry West. And I'm like, he played for the Lakers in the set. He played with Wilt Chamberlain. He won championships. And I said, yeah, he just passed away, 86. And she goes, well, how'd he die? I was like, what do you mean? He was 86. He doesn't need a reason. It's not like they found him and they put police tape up and I think we got a murder. And I'm like, I know who did it. The Lord killed that dude.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. I've written jokes for myself, the stuff that I would use during, casual conversations. And the one that people like the most is you know, my credit, I got horrible freaking credit. I mean, my credit is so freaking bad that I get pre-shredded offers in the mail. My credit is so freaking bad.
You just dumping the envelope out?
Yeah, it comes pre-shredded. You just come out, not even pre-approved, but pre-shredded.
You're just like, they didn't have to do that.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah. And I've got some more, but they're not good for video. So tell me more about Lakeland Comedy, where you guys are at, and how often?
So right now we do a show called Just Laughs. We do it downtown Lakeland at the Stage Room. And on first Fridays we do upstairs in the dance studio. They actually own that space. So we're down there every Friday. Doors are at 7:30. We start at 8. I'm working on right now. I'm trying to get, what's the best way to say it, more consistent comics on every lineup. I can't really afford to bill people as headliners, so instead of having someone come do an hour, come do 30 minutes. We'll have a couple people do 15. I got a guy named David Wayne come in this week. Very funny. He's out of St. Pete. Another dude named Amir Schuman's going to feature for him. He's from Orlando. Super funny dude. I also do the Pink Piano. I think we had talked about Christine that owns a Pink Piano. I don't know if you ever got in contact with her, but second Saturday of every month starting back this month. I believe it's the 13th. I've got a headliner named
July.
Eugene. Yeah. Eugene Singleton. He's out of Melbourne. He's come very, very funny guy.
Oh, wow. Well, they come from far away sometimes.
Yeah. If you pay them right, they'll come out. And I just did one of his rooms. So that's how we met. We had a lot of fun. Yeah.
I love that. I love the comedy group. The whole genre. Everybody helps them.
And the nice thing about Lakeland is we're in between everyone. You know, Tampa, St. Pete, Orlando. So we don't have the biggest scene, but people do like to come out because Orlando guys, they don't want to drive all the way to Tampa, you know, if they have to. And they know that I have a history of putting on good shows, so they'll come out for me. I'll have people that I'm like, I'm gonna reach out to them, but I don't know them. Sometimes they'll reach out to me, which is nice. So, you know, someone will go, hey, I just did LJ's show, you should go check it out, which is cool. Word of mouth really helps it a lot. So yeah, we do Pink Piano. I'm about to do a bucket show at Dissent Brewery. We're gonna do it on the second Thursday of this month, which is the 11th. Had to think about it.
Okay, July?
Yeah, so basically what we're gonna do, and actually I'm gonna stop by there today, is I'm gonna go get a bucket, and I'm gonna go get like Office Depot and find something to write suggestions on it, whether it's index cards or whatever they have, and throughout the week, people can fill out and put topics, which basically will be prompts for us, throw them in the bucket, and then the night of, what we'll do is we'll have a lineup of comics and we'll pull stuff out of the bucket and we just riff off of it for 5 minutes. So that'll be, depending on what people write, like it'll be fun, you know.
And some of those off the shoulder comments are the funniest there is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
People thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's a horrible mess, but it's still funny and the nice thing is if people have put something in the bucket, like if they're there that night, or even if they throw it, they'll come just because they want you to pull their card, or they'll stay because they're like, oh, I bet mine's coming up. So they do one at the club in Winter Haven.
Okay.
Third Thursday of every month, a guy named Joe Lamons runs a show. It's the same concept. Like it's not like a new concept, but I tried to make sure that if I did it, I didn't do it on his night. That way we have another venue because it helps you work on your stand-up. You know, you pull out, you read something that someone else wrote, and then the next time you're on stage, you know, you've worked that muscle a little bit. You're like, oh, I'm stuck. It's not really work. What can I do on the fly? You know, what did someone say when they walked in? Where's the crazy looking guy in the audience? Let me play with him. You know what I mean?
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So, tell me a little bit about dying on stage, if you don't mind. Anything come up?
Man.
You getting over that finally, or still?
You just have to kind of accept it. You have to. I'll tell you the problem that I've been having is, so I do all the setup for the shows, so I'm exhausted by the time I host, and I've had some rough host sets, which doesn't do much for the other comics. So I had a host for myself a couple weeks ago, but dying on stage it just happens.
You just accept it?
You just accept it, but you also have to acknowledge why it happens and what can you learn from it.
Oh yeah,
because at the end of the day, comedy's subjective, right? But you also know how to read a room. And so I had a friend, we're not gonna say his name, but I have a friend who hosted for me one time, and the crowd just did not like him. Didn't like him. And in between comics all night, he tried to force jokes, and they just didn't work. And I talked to him afterwards, and I said, when you're in that situation, bring the next guy up. You don't have to, just get him excited. Hey, are you ready for the next guy? Call his name, bring him up.
Rip that Band-Aid off.
Yeah, and when I asked him, I said, what do you think about your set? He was like, I don't think the crowd gave me enough credit for how funny I am. And I was like, that is the worst outlook you could have, because that's the only currency we have is laughs. If I'm in a full room and I do jokes and nobody laughs, that night it wasn't funny. So, but somewhere there's a way for me to take that joke and go, okay, well, it worked for the Friday night crowd. Why didn't it work for the Saturday night crowd? Well, maybe this word is too harsh, or maybe the angle is too controversial, and you kind of, you're constantly, because you don't want to bomb again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So you just have to learn from it, but it stinks.
Yeah, when I started, because I've always loved comedy and I've always thought about it. I didn't write the jokes down, but I've always appreciated when thought was behind
I'm
the
gonna
joke.
put you on stage.
I'll try it sometime. I
Put
really
you
will.
on stage.
I don't mind trying it. But I developed in my own mind as a fan, purely as a fan. I said, you know what? I know that my sense of humor is different than my wife's.
Right.
She's got a different sense of humor. And then my son's got a different sense of humor, and my daughter. And over the years, I've developed basically 7 that I know are 7 different senses of humor. And that when I want to make a joke, or if I was wanted to be in a comedy routine, I would say, in my 5 minutes, I'm going to make sure that I hit every one of those 7 senses of humors 2 or 3 times.
Right.
So I don't know which person it is that has that sense of humor, because I like the intelligent and sometimes the slapstick.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody's sense of humor is different, and I think there's like 7 genres of it, and you got to cater to that one. And so whatever jokes you lined up, hit that same sense of humor 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And it seemed like you could get the whole room.
Yeah, absolutely. And the nice thing is laughter is contagious.
Absolutely.
It's a big room, or well, not necessarily big, but a full room is way easier than where they're sparse, because the further people sit away from each other, the harder it is for, if you've got a full room and there's an uptight couple in the middle and everyone around them's laughing, they'll crack a smile. And then the next time you hit a punchline, they may actually laugh. If they don't, you just ignore them.
Yeah.
I look over their heads.
Yeah.
Or if, depending on what kind of mood I'm in, I'll pick on them and I'll go, oh, you didn't like that one, did you? Well, that's okay, because everyone else is having fun, and just kind of move on. Yeah. And they'll loosen up sometimes throughout the night.
That's where the alcohol helps a little bit.
Yes.
Sometimes.
Oh, man. Yes.
Yeah.
It definitely loosens people up.
And so, is there like a network? It seems like it's just you and comedy. Everybody just keep talking to each other and helping each other, but there's no serious network.
I mean, Tampa has a comedy group where it's full of 600 comics. Some of them are showrunners, some of them are bookers. Most of them are comedians though. Orlando has the same thing. We have a comedy group chat for Lakeland, and then
is that on your Facebook?
It's private. The group chat, it's just comics, but it's private. We do have a public group for the Just Laugh show that Kevin just made. It's Just Laughs Lakeland, and it's specifically for that show. I just posted the show, and the clips of the comics that are going to be on it this month. And then we have a sponsor for this week's show. I started doing sponsors to help pay for comics. If we're trying to make a bigger name, there's a comic name.
Plug them.
What's that?
Plug.
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's a comic. He goes by John Fawn. He's primarily a Christian comic, but I started having him out here. He owns Hometown Locksmiths out of Plant City. That's his business.
Hometown Locksmiths.
So I started. Wonderful. Yeah. So I started doing a thing where $25, I'll promote your business with everything I promote for the show throughout the week. If you want to come out and attend the show, you can. If you want to give me business cards to hand out, so. $25, if you have a light turnout or whatever, if you want to give someone extra money for gas, it works. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. I had Career Tech sponsor last week over on Memorial Boulevard.
Okay.
My cousin Kevin Wynn owns it, but it's all class driver testing. They do CDL. I think they do on the job training. I think they do forklift certificates, or at least they used to. I don't know if they still do. So
for semis and
mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, just promote them with the business and invite them out, and
That's right. Everybody likes to have a good time.
Absolutely.
A new day and
Mhm.
new enjoyment.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, we we have a network. I mean, the club in Winter Haven kind of helps connect the scenes. I kind of do the same thing, because he's in Winter Haven, Michael, he's in Winter Haven, I'm in Lakeland. So, but we kind of all know the same people, which is nice. I'm actually trying to get Mike to come out here. We had a thing a while back, and I wasn't going to the club for a little while, and everything's good. And I was talking to him the other day, and I said, why don't you come out here and promote the club? Like, I don't care. I look at it like the more the merrier. Bill Alcock does shows at Winter Circle. I do shows down here. There's a guy named Tyson Odom, As Real as It Gets Entertainment. He's doing Leo's Live. We're gonna co-produce a show. He's got a show coming up July 13th. We both have a show on the same night, but I mean, it's different crowds because
Sure.
they're kind of far away from each other. But there's a lot of Sim Boss in Mulberry started doing a comedy show. It's do you know Mulberry pretty well?
No, not really.
So when you get down in the Mulberry where Louis Max used to be, it was a steakhouse. They just opened it back up as like a Japanese something. I haven't been inside, but anyways, there's a plaza. It's Cigar Life is in there, and there's a place called Sim Boss, and it's just like I think they got like racing games, like arcade stuff, and they have a little stage. And the guy's got a dude named Matt Fernandez booked coming out. He runs an open mic in Tampa, but he's got an Amazon special. He's a local dude.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's a local dude. He just lives in Tampa. Like when you meet him, like I don't even think he talks about it. Someone's like, do you know he's got a special? And you're like, what? Why is he in Tampa?
That's right.
Yeah, but it's good to have those guys.
And I think the future is bright because, like you said, we're between Tampa, St. Pete,
right,
and Orlando. And the Central Florida, the whole thing is just growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, there's so much stand-up in
Oh
Central
my
Florida.
goodness, it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's fun, man. It is so much fun. And like we were talking about bombing, sometimes nights suck.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're great. But like I'm primarily a host here, and I don't always have the best sets as a host. I mean, sometimes I'm tired. Sometimes it's just whatever. But the key is to get them excited for the next guy. Get them excited for the next guy. So.
Yeah. Well, man, I look forward to promoting the heck out of this.
Oh, I appreciate it.
I
man.
love comedy. I love comedy.
So I'm gonna give you 5 minutes.
Man, I'll. You know what? I've always thought about it, and I think I got 3 brothers, and my dad.
Okay.
So we have a chat, and we are just killing each other. We've been killing each other our whole lives.
Yeah.
I mean, our whole lives. If we're not in person, then we're chatting, and I think my brother tried it out in California. He's out in Oxnard. I think he tried it. He gave it but he gave it up, all that. But I think he tried it. I was like, would I ever do it? I've always had it in the back of my head.
Right.
It seemed like the opportunity's freaking presenting itself.
All you got to do is let me know, and I'll put you. I like giving people chances. I enjoy it. Like so I started at Pink Piano, but what really got me was Bill down at Winter Circle used to do a gong show.
I remember the gong show. I watched it live.
Yeah, so he was doing a gong show, and I'm 3 months into stand up, so 3 of us from the local scene go, and then there's like a couple local people in the area that wanted to try it, and so I'm sitting there and I'm nervous. I used to have the worst stage anxiety, and I see 2 of my friends get gongs, and I was like, I guess I gotta win it. Like,
I gotta.
I was like, I'm the only other person here who's actively doing stand up other than them. So it came down to me and this guy Gino, who was hammered, but he was hilarious. And I actually spaced out during my set. I got the room was full. I got the biggest laugh ever, and it just shut my body off. And I looked at Dr. Vern, who's their house MC, and their guest comedian was a guy named James Yawn out of Orlando. One of the funniest dudes I've ever met. I look over at him and I go ahead and gong me. I'm dead in the water. And James goes, reset. And I was like, okay. So I reset, and I ended up winning. And I got to talk to James afterwards, and he was like, please keep doing this. And I was like, okay. So I keep in contact with him. Every time he comes to town, I go do a guest spot for him. He put me on in Orlando. It's all about networking, man.
I agree.
And primarily, people are pretty positive. Nobody really discourages you. Some people can't take constructive criticism. There are certain topics that people will take on stage, and when they get off, they're like, "Hey man, you should probably drop that joke," and they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, just," and I'm like, "Okay," you know, you kind of have to learn, you know.
Don't take it personal, man. It's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. If anything is like trial by fire, it's stand up, because you write a joke and you're like, "Oh, this is funny," but then when you get on stage and the light hits your eyes, you're like, "Wait, is that joke?" Oh man.
That's why you practice.
Yeah.
That's why you practice.
Yeah, definitely. I just did a clean show, a contest in Cape Coral, and we had all these rules. And I asked the guy, I said, I like to curse on stage. I'm not like Richard Pryor or anything, but it's just my natural.
Sure.
I said, I know if we curse, we get disqualified, but we can curse and have a good set, right? And he goes, absolutely you can. And then I ended up making it through without cursing, but I went on stage and I use medical marijuana because I have disc issues in my back. So it's a 3-hour drive down there, and I'm a little high. And I go up there, and you know, I'm always dressed like this, even unless I'm at a club, I'm dressed exactly baggy shorts, and I go up there and I go, despite the way I'm dressed, I'm not here to talk to your children about drugs. And they laughed. I go, however, I'm on drugs right now. So,
but then it killed.
Yeah. And then somebody actually lit me early on accident. The guy was like, hey, you get 3 minutes. I'm going to hold up my phone, screen on, and I'm going to go like this. And I was like, okay. So I'm 1.5 minutes into my set. Someone sitting in his chair holds their phone up. I think they were stretching because I saw both. And I got off stage. I said, man, that went by fast. And he goes, you only did 1.5 minutes. I was like, well, who lit me? He goes, I don't know. And I was frustrated at first, and I was like, you know what? I started with a laugh, I ended with a laugh. That's all.
That's right.
Yeah, they saw me do well, so that's. And then my buddy got he had a really good set, but he said the F word and he stumbled over it. He tried to catch it and it DQ'd him. Yeah, so on the way back we were like, man, but it was a lot of fun.
Well, I appreciate your time,
Absolutely.
LJ, and I want to thank Cohats for letting me use this beautiful room.
This is so cool.
Yeah, they got it right. It's
This is
wonderful.
so